Welcome back. I'm Chris. Not with me today is Chris Jr. He is off having his own adventures. Today, I'm going to play around with some new mufflers and a new exhaust setup on the 1982 Ford Mustang GT that I affectionately call Project Piece of Stang. If you're not aware, Piece of Stang has a 310 cubic inch rebuilt 60/302 with Edelbrock 6025 aluminum heads, an Edelbrock Performer 289 intake, an Edelbrock 600 CFM carburetor, a Trick Flow Stage 1 cam, old style Mack shorty headers, a Mack off-road H-pipe, and it came with some Mack knockoff generic unnamed unmarked mufflers on it. A couple of weeks ago I took the tailpipes off this car because I realized that the angle that the tailpipes were at, in order for the tailpipe to fit up on the exhaust hanger under the bumper, it was binding up the muffler and binding up the tailpipe against the suspension, and it looked something like this. Also, before I can drive this thing, I've discovered a new problem. My new tailpipe that I made is hitting the chassis and the control arm at ride height. I had a new vibration in the rear end that I didn't think was driveline related. I couldn't figure out. Yeah, my new tailpipe is just riding on the suspension. So I've got to yank this tailpipe, either get rid of it or cut it and fix it. And unfortunately, I have to do that before I can test drive it. This one, perfectly fine. This one, pure crap. That sucks. I was really proud of these tailpipes too, but it's got to go for now. This is what happens when you mount your exhaust with the rear end dangling in the air. I had the car supported and the rear end hanging to give me room to work. When I put it on the ground, this is what happens. So I should have jacked it all up, put it all together. I would have seen this before. Well, I figured out what I did wrong with my tailpipe on this side. That side's great. This side, it's the angle where I cut and welded this in. It's angled too far down. When you put the exhaust hanger on, the whole thing binds up and it goes up and hits. But when you let it hang naturally and let the exhaust hanger do its job, the tailpipe sits where it's supposed to, but it also sits 6 inches low here. So I'm gonna have to yank them off and then I'll have to come back later and fix it. This one's perfect. Anyway, so the tailpipes are currently off the car. I'm not really fond of these mufflers, these knockoff chambered mufflers, whatever they are. They don't sound right. They've always had this weird sound to them. They've always had this kind of spitting sound to them. I actually thought at one point there might be something loose rattling around in them, but there's not. It's just the way they sound. I'm not fond of it. And currently there are no tailpipes on the car because of that previously shown issue. So things are all bass right now. Think about cranking up your stereo, dialing the bass to +10 and the treble down to -10. And that's what these things are like. It just absolutely rattles your brains out. So I've got some other mufflers that may or may not help, but hopefully they'll sound different. Let's go check those out. So this is what my daughter and I went and picked up here recently. They are some sort of straight through but baffled muffler. Let me see if I can get a light in there and show you. Can't really get any kind of angle that really shows you what's in there, but they're a straight through baffled muffler. Anyway, pretty standard. These are really cheap online. I went and picked them up. Other than just a different sound, I also got these because they already had flow tubes on them, and I didn't really feel like having to deal with cutting off flow tubes and reattaching them. So I'm actually going to use the flow tubes on the black car and cut those generic mufflers off of them, and I'm going to start kind of experimenting with the exhaust a little bit going forward. Though before I even get started, I do have to weld this up. Somebody slipped with a cutoff wheel. Here's what the current generic chambered mufflers sound like. Unfortunately, the camera or the mufflers completely wash out the camera. You can never really tell what they sound like. But like I said earlier, just all bass. On the camera, it actually sounds like they're super quiet because it's completely washing out the microphone on this camera. Inside the car, just insane amounts of bass and vibration. Don't know what these mufflers are made of. The mufflers and flow tubes seem to match. They're very, very lightweight. Super, super lightweight. A lot lighter than what's on the car, but I don't know if they're probably not chrome moly, probably just some kind of cheap stainless, but anyway, they're not going to be anywhere, they won't be anywhere near as pretty once I booger weld that. I wish I could say this isn't my finest work, but this is about as good as it gets for me. Here are the new mufflers compared to the tailpipes. So these are gonna slide right on there. They're gonna be an exact match, which means I'm gonna have to get something to sleeve over them since they're both the same internal and external diameter. And I'm also gonna have to trim this down because the old tailpipes used to be inside the old muffler. So I'm gonna trim both of these down once I decide to put the tailpipes back on it. But that's a future Chris problem. Here are those mufflers that came off the black car. Like I said, they're completely unbranded, completely unmarked. We were told when we got the car it's a complete Mack exhaust, but these aren't Mack products. Anyway, I'm gonna end up cutting off the flow tubes off of them and using them for other mufflers and some upcoming exhaust experiments. Run into some problems. The first one, which is not insurmountable, is someone took this 2.5 muffler, 2.5 flow tube, reduced it to 2 1/4 with a 2 1/4 inch cup. Kind of annoying. I mean, it'll work. This thing used to have 2 1/4 inch tailpipes. It never really affected anything. The big problem is the passenger side muffler does not line up at all. If you mount it where the ball and flange meet up and seal, the muffler is essentially riding on the drive shaft. If you put it over here where it's supposed to go, it cannot physically seal. I'm not sure what's going on here, how they've screwed this up, but the angle is all wrong. I'm going to take this out and bend it somehow. I also just noticed these flow tubes are quite a bit longer. I pushed the muffler back quite a bit. That's not going to leave much room for the tailpipe, so I'll have to do quite a bit of, probably relocate this hanger further back later when I do the tailpipes and try to trim this off to fit it. Problem looks like it's here. They've got this angled the wrong way. It needs to be curved out the other way. I guess I'm gonna have to heat this up and see if I can bend it probably a solid inch. I've heated this thing up cherry red to the point I burned myself through my welding gloves. I've been bashing it and bending it, and I think I might have gotten a couple of millimeters. I don't think I really accomplished anything. Between repeated heating up and bashing and bending, and then using the clamps to draw it in at a certain angle, I think I've got it mostly to seal. My suspicion is that because these things were always or recently run as dumps, it was so loud, I don't think anyone noticed that it wasn't really sealing. And I probably won't be able to tell until I put the tailpipes on it. Then there's going to be an exhaust leak right there. For the most part, they're together. So let's go see what it sounds like. I'll be be completely honest, I don't think it's any louder than it was. It doesn't sound a whole lot different. Let's go see what it sounds like inside. Yeah, I may have succeeded in changing the tone and the pitch. Seems like there's a lot less bass in here. So this is leaking. I can feel air coming from right here. So I do have an exhaust leak. Oh yeah, there we go, I can see that now. Really, with it on the ground, it sounds a lot the same. I don't hear a whole lot of difference. I think I'm gonna go take it for a test drive. Pretty sure I somehow made it worse. I really thought these straight through mufflers would change the tone and the pitch a little bit higher, a little bit less bass, and just make it a little bit more tolerable inside. Not so much. I'm not even on the highway yet. Chop a bit more with these mufflers than you could the other ones. These don't wash out the cam as bad. Not exactly what I was looking for, but I like them enough to give them a chance. I think what I'm gonna do is here in a couple of days, I'm gonna cut the flow tubes off these old mufflers, try to cut them off nice and smooth, the 2.5-inch flow tubes, and I'm gonna find a way to clamp them onto these mufflers, and I'll cut the 2.25-inch flow tubes off these things and make them straight, make them fit. And then after I do that and fix the exhaust leak, I think I'm gonna try to measure them up and get the tailpipes on them and see what they sound like with the tailpipes. But that'll be a couple of days from now. It's a couple hours later. I'm actually gonna go meet a guy right down the street who's got some other mufflers for sale dirt cheap that I wanna buy. I don't know if I'm gonna try them on this car or if I'm gonna try them on white trash or what. The guy that I just picked up the mufflers from loved this thing. He's an old hot rodder. I gotta say though, now I've spent a little time with it, been driving it, it is definitely louder. It is, the cam chop is much more noticeable. People are looking across parking lots at it. So I do like this sound better than the older mufflers. It's not quiet, it's actually louder, I'm pretty sure, but there is less bass. I'm not as miserable as I was before. Not sure if you can hear that rattle. I finally figured out the rattle and I'm gonna fix it. I don't know if that shows up on camera, but under throttle, horrible rattle. Drive me crazy, but I know what it is. It's actually less drone at idle. So little drone, I can hear the rear end wobbling again. Finally found it. That at 5,000 RPMs was rattling my brains out. So I'm gonna have to find a way to glue that back down. Here are the mufflers I just went and picked up. They are 3-inch straight through MBRPs. And I don't know if you can actually see that or not. Huh. There you go. You can see a little bit of the baffling. They're not a lot different than the ones I just put on the black car. Who knows? I might start getting V-bands and start putting on all these cars so I can change out mufflers and flow tubes a lot quicker. But these might go on white trash. They might go on the black car. I haven't figured it out yet. They're not going on anything right now. And unfortunately, that is it. Things have changed. Some things came up. My free time has ended. I am not going to get to continue playing with this car, playing with the other mufflers, attaching the tailpipes or anything else. Other issues have come up, more urgent issues. So I've got to go, and hopefully I'll get to mess with these tailpipes here in a couple of weeks. But thank you for watching. I appreciate it. God bless.